This right here, this is the last coherent message ever received from Elias Thorne. Just one sentence, sent from a satellite phone deep inside the Olympic Peninsula. And this is the precise moment a simple backcountry expedition became Case File 734.
Now, on paper, this story ends right there. It's logical, it's simple, and honestly, it's a comforting conclusion. A tragic but, an understandable accident. The only problem, it's a conclusion that is contradicted by every single piece of physical evidence found at the scene.
To really understand just how strange this all is, we have to first understand who the Thorne brothers were. Because believe me, these were not novices making some foolish mistake in the wild.
Okay, so you have Marcus, a former Marine. You have his younger brother, Elias, an environmental scientist. These two were raised in the Oregon backcountry. They knew the woods, they respected the dangers, and they were always prepared for them. And I mean prepared. Their equipment was all professional grade. GPS beacons, a sat phone, bear mace, even a high-caliber hunting rifle. This wasn't some casual weekend camping trip. So you have to ask the question, how did two experts, armed with this level of gear, fall victim to a predictable animal attack?
Let's move to the location itself and analyze the data recovered by the search and rescue team. This is where the official story really starts to fall apart.
You see, a standard bear attack leaves very specific, very obvious signs. You get claw marks, drag marks, a lot of blood. But at the Thorne campsite, there was none of that. The tent wasn't ripped by claws, it was pulled apart by some kind of immense, blunt force. The tent poles weren't swiped at, they were bent cleanly at perfect 90-degree angles. And maybe most unsettling of all, there was no blood. Anywhere.
3? Just a number, right? Well, this is the number of healthy, mature pine trees surrounding the campsite that were found snapped completely in half. We're talking trees about 8 inches thick.
And here's the really critical data point. 8.5 feet. That was the uniform height of the breaks on all 3 of those trees.
So, you have to ask yourself a pretty simple physics question. What known animal in North America can generate that kind of force at that specific height? The answer is, well, it's simple, none. There isn't one.
And the rifle? The weapon carried by a trained Marine, his last line of defense, was found 40 yards away from the tent. Its barrel was bent, rendering it completely useless, and not a single shot had been fired.
The scene itself was just a mess of contradictions. But the biological evidence they recovered, this is where the whole bear attack story completely disintegrates into nothing.
So investigators took plaster casts of some prints they found at the scene. For comparison, a grizzly track is quadrupedal, 4-legged, about 12 inches long, and it clearly shows claw marks. The prints at the Thorne campsite, they were bipedal, nearly 20 inches long, and showed no claws at all. Instead, they revealed something far more unusual: dermal ridges.
Dermal ridges are, for all intents and purposes, fingerprints. They are a defining characteristic of primates, which leads to one unmistakable conclusion. Whatever left these tracks was a primate.
And then there was the hair sample, found snagged on one of those broken trees. It backed up what the footprints suggested. The lab report was officially labeled inconclusive. The DNA shared genetic markers with both humans and other higher primates, but it didn't match anything in any known database. The sample belongs to a completely unknown biological entity.
The last piece of this puzzle, it was found weeks later, miles away from the campsite. It was Elias Thorne's audio recorder, and on it was a recording of the last 15 minutes before they made that panicked, failed 911 call.
Elias is clearly in extreme distress. Listen to this. This is an observation not of a predator at eye level, but one positioned at a superior height. It implies a scale that contradicts every known animal in the region.
Now you will hear Marcus attempt a threat display to scare it off, but listen to how the entity responds. That is vocal mimicry. It's not just some random animal sound. It's a direct, distorted imitation. It's a sign of intelligence and, well, psychological terror.
The recording ends there, abruptly.
So we're left with 2 very distinct, very conflicting narratives. There's the official report, which is designed to provide closure and, maintain public order. And then there's the data, which provides something else entirely.
And that's really the crucial point here, this direct conflict. On one side, you have the comforting, simple story of a tragic bear attack. But on the other, you have the empirical, terrifying data. Primate footprints, impossible feats of strength, intelligent vocal mimicry, and DNA from an unknown species. The two cannot coexist. One of them is a lie.
This case forces us to confront a pretty fundamental assumption we all make, that we are the apex predator. But the data from Case File 734 suggests that maybe, in certain corners of the world, that assumption is dangerously flawed.
The evidence in this case file leads to one chilling conclusion. The Thorne brothers encountered something else out there, an apex predator that science does not officially recognize. The woods are deep, dark, and ancient, and they do not belong to us.